Hello, this is Dean Takahashi at GamesBeat. I'm here at GamesBeat Summit 2019 with Miko MAtsumura.
Yes, hi.
And you are in the crypto space at Gumi Cryptos.
That's correct.
Tell us about that whole crypto life. When did it start for you?
Yeah, so I've been 30 years in Silicon Valley working on open source software projects. I think we've intersected a couple times in that realm. And you know, to me, this crypto life is really, you know, it's an extension in the sense that it's really about, for me, open source money. So, you know, I think what's really happened is this transformation. And not only does this kind of currency fuel open source projects, but it's really starting to kind of permeate and become kind of an underlying infrastructure for the internet itself, right? So, you know, I like to say about 10 years ago, the internet started printing its own money. So for me, like, that's Bitcoin and the history of Bitcoin. And, you know, I think it's really gone a crazy distance since that time.
But you, got in early enough to sort of figure some things out and be in a good position.
Yeah, one of the fascinating things about this whole blockchain is that the blockchain is a new history recording device. Right, so a blockchain is a new way of recording history, and the way it records history is it basically creates consensus about what happened, right? So it creates an agreement about what happens before writing it down, before saying, okay, this is what happened. Once it's written down, it kind of forces it to be like public and immutable, so everyone can look at it and be like, yeah, that is what happened, right? So the thing that's really interesting is this kind of notion of owning a piece of history. So you were talking about like getting in early. I think we're kind of going to reach the point where the number of people that own an entire Bitcoin is going to be a limited number of people, right? Because I think that's so, you know, I think that in a way it's almost like owning a piece of history, because really, like, this is a history, the blockchain ledger is like a history recording device, right? So it's a, you know, and what's been created is actually digital scarcity, right? Which is weird, because when you look at the old internet and all the stuff on the internet, it's all about kind of copy paste. So like, you know, there isn't any scarcity.
And how did you sort of navigate past all of the people who were like the scammers to find the real opportunities in the space?
You know, anyone who kind of went through 2017, like, they met scammers. They, like, you know, so I mean, it was rife with scammers. So, like, you know, the thing that was really amazing, I like to say that Satoshi solved the problem of third-party trust, which is trusting the intermediary, but he did not solve the problem of second-party trust, you know, which is basically like, who is this person that I'm talking to? It turns out that, like, in many cases in crypto,
can I trust those Bitcoin people? Or
yeah, so people have a creepy feeling because, like, the amount of energy and power that's in that network kind of brings out all the crazies, you know, all the crazy characters come out. So, you know, we have to wrestle with that as an industry.
And then where did you see then the direction to go, or the best opportunity, you know, the way you wanted to apply your energy?
Well, for me, one of the great things that happened is that I was able to team up with Gumi, which is a game company in Japan, you know, and so, like, I have Japanese ancestry, and, like, so all of these kind of, like, stars aligned, because Gumi Cryptos, the Gumi game company in Japan, wanted to launch a crypto fund and was looking for a partner in the San Francisco Bay Area. So really the stars lined up for me. So for me, I think there's a very natural interface between gaming and this crypto asset world, which is that, in a way, the idea of creating a currency is a nice idea, but you don't want a currency, you actually want an economy. And I think what's proven is that the people who make currencies are bad at making economies. And I think the thing that's really interesting is that I don't want to insult the game industry, but, like, you know, a lot of people in the game building industry are really good at building economies, but they're not necessarily good at, like, getting currency, you know. So, like, and, you know, they're certainly, like, epically large game companies, you know, and they've been epically successful. But, you know, I think that we have an opportunity to actually realign all the incentives in this industry, and I think that was what Kevin was saying for Forte. Like, So that was an incredibly inspiring talk because he was saying we can all do better, right? Like the free-to-play model is broken. Let's build a new model and let's make it beneficial for all the stakeholders. And that, to me, I think, is what's exciting about it.
And there's a certain power crypto brings here because of the incentives that it can generate in those economies.
That's the excitement, right? The excitement is that you actually have incentives that move from in-game economics of engagement to like deeper layers, because what's happened is that you actually have a strong interface between cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies, right? So then you're actually talking about the ability to pay developers, and in some ways even to incentivize users with things like payment. Because if you just look at really simple things, like if you look at things like in-game behavior, right, what you really want is you want every single stakeholder in the ecosystem to be compensated appropriately for their value adding, right? Yeah. And I think we've already seen models. Like we've seen models like, for example, like referrals. If you bring your friend into a game, you get an in-game currency. So like there's tons of innovation around incentives. But this is a way of taking it into a much bigger kind of meta game, right? Which is it's a game that sits above all the games. And you can kind of play it.
So this is the way for it to go big and go mainstream, I guess. But what's going to trigger it?
Yeah.
Is the question.
So this is my thesis. So I feel like what will trigger this. So whenever a developer decides what platform to use in gaming, they're really thinking only about one thing. Is they're thinking about users, right? Because if they have users, they know they can get revenue. So that's good, right? So to me, like a crypto asset platform that may or may not, I mean, most crypto asset platforms have quote-unquote users, but they're not going to play your game because they're users of that and they're not users of this, right? But the thing that I think animates the whole game is the messengers, right? Because what's happening is that all the internet messenger services and mobile messenger services are all launching crypto tokens. So if you look at Facebook and WhatsApp, that's like 2.5 billion monthly actives. And I think that they'll be unified by a token. And there's almost no way that Facebook doesn't make that into a gaming platform, And I think that we're already seeing players like Line in Japan, or you're seeing Kakao in Korea, obviously Telegram, but, these are all tokenized messengers that want games. Like, they really do want games. They all get it. They all get that, like, what will people do? Well, they'll send messages to each other, and they'll send payments to each other, and games.
Now, the core game makers seem like they've been slow to jump into it, but we do see Ubisoft being active.
Yeah.
Things like Robocash as well. So are they just sort of moving too slow to understand this, I guess?
Well, one of the fascinating things about like deep technology transformation is that from year to year almost nothing changes, but in 10 years everything's completely different, right? So, I feel like the bigger players that are aggressively moving today actually have a really nice space to carve out into this future, because I think that the future expands a lot. There are a lot of rewards for people that like participate in this. So I feel like it's a big space. It's going to be quite large, because if you just look at things like the market capitalization of the crypto asset space, like it's hundreds of billions of dollars. So like, there are plenty of rewards for people in here to participate.
So this is your first GamesBeat speaking, right?
Yes, that's right.
Have you been to some of the previous ones too?
Yeah, I did attend as a just a gawker. And, I think it's a very admirable event. From my perspective, like it's such a strong and sharp emphasis on content and on serving the community with thought leadership. So I think that's been great. Like I've been hearing all sorts of exciting things and getting a lot of insight myself.